Okay, that was one unexpected Super Bowl for a few reasons. There was excitement. There was ugliness as far as for the Eagles. The results aren't anything that I thought it was going to end up being. I really, really didn't.
Showed off her growing belly wearing a boiler suit with a red breastplate underneath.
And it comes down to some clear stuff that sometimes these really brilliant football guys, they can't see the forest through the trees.
How much is 4,343 times 1,234?
5359262.
He's a genius.
So I want to go over elements of the Super Bowl game that the Dolphins and Miami Dolphins fans should be very focused on and clear on for their own team coming into the 2023 season. There's some real good stuff here. Some stuff that's going to make things very clear about what direction we need to go, what we need to be wary of, and a few other little curiosities. So I just want to say thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. You guys make this channel go. I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to Ace Per Head, my sponsor. Goes out to you. This show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. I'm not going to dilly-dally long and break the stuff out, but the Eagles have the best offensive line in football. But it does not matter if you have the biggest engine and the fastest car if you can't shift the gear. You saw every single time they got in short situations, they just bullied the Kansas City defense. Yeah, Hurts is a strong guy. They say he could squat up to 600 pounds. And yeah, he had some push in the back to go forward. But really, you could see that offensive line was able to just bully forward and take care of the Kansas City line. But for some reason, the decision wasn't his game plan. And I kind of understand Kansas City has the 8th best run defense. But to come out and throw, and have Hurts be everything. Run the football, pass the football. And as a guy who's been covering the Bills for 2 years, this is not a winning formula. And the oddity is that Andy Reid and Mahomes, who usually run that formula, flipped the script, and it was the thing that put them over the top. Aside from the weird zebra calls at the end, but other than that, and the Hurts fumble in the sidelines and not covering those guys in the leaking out into the flats. But aside from that, it was the key ingredient. And it goes back to something that we Dolphin fans have to understand. We have awesome talent. They got Brown, they got Smith, they got Goddard, they got this unbelievable line. They can pass the football. But they had huge time of possession advantage. And it was so funny listening to the second half. The announcer's like, you see this new football, they can throw themselves into time of possession. And then it went straight downhill. Kansas City opened up and began running the football. If you've ever played football, if another team's throwing a football a lot, you can get gassed, you can get tired, but you can get your endurance back. You sit on the sidelines, the offense has a good drive, you recover yourself. I mean, if it's super hot like we do to teams early in the year in Miami, it's a little different story. But in this setting, it was not something that they could not overcome. But when you run that football and you slam that football and your body takes blows and you can't recover from it. It takes a whole week and sometimes more. Running the football isn't just time of possession. It's what it does to the bodies as well as other things to really make that time of possession critical and have its maximum effect. Now, if you want to get the game over quick, it doesn't matter. You just have time of possession to get the game over. It doesn't matter if it's pass or through air. But when you got a contested match against a defense that's got some issues and a little thinness, and you have the best offensive line, you've got to hammer that thing along with your passing. This way, the time of possession is wearing down the endurance and wearing down the bodies. Eagles did not do this. And you could see how KC, they've got a really good offensive line, except their right tackle. Nyang's been knocked out for the season. They don't have really receivers, but Kelsey's unbelievable. Mahomes is unbelievable. But when they opened that second half, down 10 points, and Pacheco started pounding that rock, and he runs hard. He runs and delivers the blows. He puts the elbows in there. He puts the shoulders in there. He runs for power, and he took a blast. That fourth quarter was unbelievable when he came back. But it began to really control the situation. You could see the life getting drained from the Eagles because now their bodies are getting hit, and they got to pay attention to the run as well as the pass. And it really started because up until that point, they started getting a hold on the Kansas City offense. And then Andy Reid did some beautiful stuff as far as play design, pinching in and popping out on the receiving routes. But it was a shift to more pass balance. Mahomes was on the center 5 times, Eagles 0. I've said it a dozen times, and you can see with McDaniel this year. When you run shotgun and draws, they are not considered run plays, really, because the linemen, they pop up and look like a pass, and you do this inside run, and it's really doesn't get the full effect. I mean, it's okay to do it, but if that's the fuel of your run game, it is not going to do part of the job of the run game, which is get the offensive linemen attacking. Get them confident to attack and use their bodies to slam the opposition and then take the running back to slam against these players to tire them out. Bolton's a great player, but he's not a huge guy. These interior linemen, they're thin. You had the best offensive line. You should have been pounding them. And the Eagles, all they did was run draws, RPOs, and occasionally draw runs, which is a little bit better because the offensive linemen fire out. But they only did a couple of them. And you go back and you look at KC, they had some really awesome play designs in their run games. It was a nice 3rd and short where they had their fullback on the counter inside pinch shot. And they were getting after guys. They were in shotgun as well as, those 5 reps under center for their runs, but they were not draws. They were shotgun handoffs. Now, all the shotgun handoffs and stuff is easy to diagnose, but you mitigate that easiness by attacking with the offensive lineman and getting movement, because then it causes guys to hesitate because you got the blockers moving and you're not exactly certain. You got to diagnose. But when you come out and you run draws and shotguns, it is giving so much an ease for the defense, unless it's a real trick, they get caught. But they're not getting caught. And this is what McDaniel has to remember. Look how much Hurts, how many passing yards. Hurts had like 70, 80 on the ground. He had over 300 in the air. But you know what? In the end, the team that was pass balanced came back into it. And the next part is you got Tua. Mahomes was definitely not as nimble as he normally was with the injury, and then it's a little bit more after, but he still played unbelievable. But they needed to kind of create a situation for a quarterback that's not highly mobile. And so they went to pass balance. Andy Reid, Mr. Pass Happy. And they brought Pacheco in. They vested that offensive line, had a good offensive line, found Pacheco late, which you can do. And even Mahomes, who's unbelievable. Mahomes, in his 70, 80% movement skills, is still top 5 in the league. But they still understood. They came out, wanted to be Mr. Fun Ball, and then when they saw the situation was going south, they adjusted to pass balance. And this is what McDaniel needs. We have no running backs on the roster right now. We have a sketchy offensive line, ancillary blockers that really is struggling. They're not good. We've got to add a run game. Tua needs this run game. You could see that if the Eagles had simply played some balanced looks, diversity of attack in both the run game and the pass game, they would have won this one. But they were going for it on 4th, which kept them in a game. They were making some big plays, but that consistency underneath wasn't there. Just think about, with that awesome offensive line, how quickly they were getting yards on 3rd and 4th and short. If they were in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 3rd and 3, and they would continue to run this football, it would have been a whole different story. And it's a story that Casey and Andy Reid learned, and it's a story McDaniel needs to understand. Now, on a last note, this year is going to be about Fangio coming in. It's going to be about a new defense. And it's clearly going to be about Tyndale. Tyndale is expected to play. I think that they're really going to focus on getting this kid ready. Now, he sat all last year. And Leo Chenell, who was drafted before him, or just after him, like 2 picks before after, he was in this game, and he had a sack, tackle for loss, and 6 tackles overall. And he's been effective all season. So that's the barometer. This kid's already been contributing, won a Super Bowl. Tyndale has to perform. There's no reason for him not to perform. If he does not perform this year at even an okay level, it should be a concern. But the expectations this season should be for him to match Chenell. I had people in the comment section, well, we should have drafted Chenell, but I think he went early or whatever. Maybe we could trade it up, or whatever the case may be. It's this right here. There's about 4 or 5 linebackers drafted just before and after him, even some very late, that had a lot of production. Tyndale is going to be a key pick. We cannot afford to spend a 2nd and 3rd or a 2nd or a 3rd on a linebacker, unless this guy's like, some dude falls into the side, some miracle, Tunsil or whatever, Minka Fitzpatrick fall into the late 2nd. But it's very hard to find these guys, the 3-down guys. Bolton, I wanted Bolton desperately a couple of years ago when he was up there. We missed on him. But Tyndale has to make it happen. And the last little bit here is sloppy play. We were very, very sloppy all season, and you could see how that sloppiness. I'm not talking about the last play, which really wasn't paid. I mean, the guy said, I held. I think the NFL came to him and said, say it. It does. I'm sure he held a little bit, but I saw that all game long. What he did that one play, I saw many, many times that was not called all game. And throughout the year, Howard lives off that stuff. It was so minimal. It was ridiculous. But I'm talking about before that. Simple things like the fumble and not really getting to the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and 1, and you get a penalty, and then now you're in 3rd and 6, and that's how you get the fumble. We need to be highly disciplined because, Eagles are a better team than the Dolphins. And I don't think that from a talent standpoint, a depth standpoint, the Dolphins will be on the same level as the Eagles next year. But that doesn't matter. You could still win. You saw it here. Eagles had the best team on the field, but they went totally bonkers in the decision-making process and their play calls and their philosophy and game design that it doesn't really matter. You need to have discipline. You need to have good game plans. You also need to be flexible. That first game plan, the first layout of how they're going to run it wasn't bad. I thought they left a lot of meat on the table without running football, but they did not adapt that second half. That second half, Andy Reid to me, what Andy Reid did in that second half totally changes my image of Andy Reid. It was brilliant. There's about 4 or 5 things that he adjusted in there that totally turned the tables and got them to win. Coaching is absolutely critical. McDaniel has to, and Fangio now together, have to bring discipline to this team. They have to bring good game plans, but they also have to bring good halftime adjustments. And that's really what we need to have a physical team. We can't play fun ball all day. We need to find ourselves an offensive line and then use it. Find running backs that have physicality like Pacheco, that like to hit, have pass balance. We're a passing team, but add balance. We need to get some hay from very critical picks, and Tyndale is an top pick in the 3rd round, but still our top pick in last year's draft. He's got to shine this year along with EZ. And the discipline and the manipulation of the team against the opposing team through good game plans and play calls and halftime adjustment, minimizing penalties. That's what that's what the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer and Fangio should get from this game. If we can get some of this stuff, this team is so poised. We have so many pieces. There's a lot of, honestly, I know some people, I'm hardcore as far as the offense line. They could bring in a few guys, bring in that tight end blocker and a running back or two. You can find that kind of stuff late in cheap FA signings and good second and third round picks. And this team would be lifted very, very high. Takes health and all the other things, but we really are knocking on the door. But knocking on a door can leave you out in the cold if you don't have what it takes to kick the door in. Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. See you soon. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.